The Galactic Council was laughing. Not the quiet kind of laughter, the kind exchanged between dignitaries in hushed amusement. No, this was booming laughter. Arrogant. Mocking. The sound of empires so certain in their superiority that they couldn't imagine anything existing outside their realm of absolute control. High Chancellor Vroth of the Zygarth Dominion leaned back in his floating chair, his 4 crimson eyes glinting with disdain as he waved a clawed hand toward the massive holo-display at the center of the council chamber. The screen showed grainy footage, human soldiers in olive-drab fatigues, crouched behind cover, firing their primitive rifles. They actually think these metal projectiles are weapons worthy of war. Vroth scoffed, his mandibles clicking together in amusement. Look at them. Scrambling like vermin. Pathetic. A roar of laughter rippled through the chamber. This is priceless, added General Karish of the Vuhani Empire, his elongated reptilian skull bobbing as he chuckled. Do they even understand energy shielding? Do they even comprehend the scale of modern combat? Beside him, Councillor Drex of the Uvath Consortium snorted, his biomechanical armor gleaming under the chamber's luminescent blue light. His people were masters of nanotechnology, with fleets capable of self-replicating across entire star systems. The idea that humans were attempting to compete in the galactic theater of war was hilarious to him. It's like watching a child bring a sharpened stick to a plasma duel, Drex mused. Amusing, in a way. Admirable, even, in their sheer stupidity. Another round of laughter. The council chamber, a vast, circular arena suspended in the vacuum of space aboard the capital station Veritas Prime, was filled with representatives from over 40 dominant species. They were the rulers of the galaxy. The architects of conquest. The masters of war. And Earth? Earth was nothing. A primitive world on the fringes of explored space, barely a century into its interstellar age. A species that still relied on gunpowder. Ballistics. Metal slugs fired from crude chemical combustion. The very concept was laughable. And yet, they resist, Chancellor Vroth continued, his voice dripping with amusement and irritation. They defy us. They refuse to acknowledge the inevitable. Do they truly think their military stands a chance against the full force of the Galactic Council? Karish sneered, displaying rows of needle-like teeth. They must believe in their own legends. The idea that willpower and determination mean anything in real warfare. How quaint. The holo-display shifted, showing a live feed from the outer rim colony of Vespa 9. A small, rocky moon orbiting a gas giant, one of Earth's minor settlements, barely fortified. The footage zoomed in on a squad of human soldiers, standing atop a metal watchtower, their rifles slung across their backs. Look at them, muttered Drex, shaking his head. They don't even have mechs. No exosuits. No bioenhancements. Just soft flesh wrapped in primitive body armor. This will be over in hours, Vroth declared confidently. Perhaps even minutes. On the holoscreen, a formation of Council warships emerged from hyperspace, blotting out the sky above Vespa 9. The invasion had begun. And the Council was watching. They wanted entertainment. The plan? A public execution. The invasion of Vespa 9 wasn't just about conquering a human colony. It was about sending a message. Earth had been a growing annoyance in the galactic political sphere for decades. Their stubborn refusal to submit. Their defiant stance against what they called unfair control. Their irritating, unyielding spirit. The Council had tolerated them long enough. A strike force of 600 elite Council warriors had been dispatched. These were no mere soldiers. They were genetically engineered killing machines, equipped with adaptive energy shielding, plasma carbines, and gravitic field armor that could absorb the kinetic impact of even railgun rounds. And their orders were simple. Eliminate all human resistance. Broadcast the slaughter across the galaxy. Remind humanity of its place. This wasn't a war. This was an execution. Overconfidence breeds mistakes. As the invasion force touched down on Vespa 9, High Chancellor Vroth turned to the other council members with a smug grin. We should take bets, he mused. How many minutes do you think it will take before the humans surrender? Karish leaned forward, tapping a claw against the table. I say, 20 minutes. No, 15. Their defenses are laughable. Their weapons? Utterly obsolete. Once the first wave lands, they'll be begging for mercy. Drex smirked. You're giving them too much credit, General. I say 10. More laughter. The live feed from the Council's warships now showed the invasion unfolding in real time. The Council warriors deployed in tight formations, sweeping through the barren terrain, their plasma rifles glowing in the darkness. Their targeting systems detected no significant threats. No armored vehicles. No missile installations. No plasma turrets. It was exactly as they had expected. A weak, insignificant colony, defended by weak, insignificant soldiers. This would be over quickly. Or so they thought. The first shot. Back on Veritas Prime, the council chamber watched in eager anticipation. The first human soldiers came into view, just a handful of them, standing near a ridge line, silhouetted against the gas giant in the sky. The council's warriors took aim. High Chancellor Vroth leaned forward. "And so it begins," he murmured. Crack. A single, deafening gunshot rang out. One of the alien warriors, an 8-foot-tall Krellborn officer, dropped instantly. His massive frame slammed into the dirt, unmoving. For a split second, silence. Then chaos. The council chamber erupted in confusion. What the hell was that? Drex snapped. Vroth frowned, his mandibles twitching. Did they just lose someone? On the holoscreen, the council soldiers scrambled for cover. Their commander barked orders. Their scanners activated, searching for the attackers. Crack. Another warrior collapsed. This time, the bullet punched through his armor, through his shield, and out the other side. One shot. One kill. Karish's expression darkened. Where's the energy signature? Where's the plasma burst? What the hell are they shooting? A technician monitoring the battle spoke up, his voice shaky. No plasma burst detected, sir. No energy readings at all. Drex stiffened. Then, what the hell are they using? The technician swallowed hard. Projectile weapons, sir. Ballistics. The council chamber fell silent. Then, Vroth scoffed. Impossible. Energy shielding blocks ballistics. No slug thrower can penetrate. Crack. Another alien died. The warriors on Vespa 9 were in full panic now, huddling behind rocks, frantically scanning the ridgeline for the unseen enemy. Their weapons were useless. Their technology was useless. They had no idea where the shots were coming from. For the first time, in a long, long time, the Galactic Council felt fear. The Galactic Council was no longer laughing. Moments ago, they had been reveling in their arrogance, mockingly watching their elite forces land on Vespa 9 to carry out an execution, not a battle. Now, the council chamber was silent. The first kill had been dismissed as an anomaly. The second made them uneasy. The third? That was when the unease turned into fear. On Vespa 9, their elite warriors were dying. And no one even knew who was killing them. Panic in the field. Commander Voka of the Zygoth Dominion bared his fangs in frustration, slamming a clawed fist against the side of his armored helmet. His combat HUD flickered erratically, but no matter how many times he reran the battlefield diagnostics, the results were the same. No heat signatures. No energy readings. No signs of an enemy force. And yet, his warriors were dropping like flies. Hold the line, he barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. Form defensive positions. Scan for. Crack. One of his best marksmen, a seasoned Krellborn veteran, jerked backward as a bullet ripped through his helmet. His massive, 8-foot-tall body crashed into the dirt, motionless. One shot. One kill. It was happening again and again, an unseen, unknown force picking them off with terrifying precision. One moment a warrior was taking cover, the next they were dead, their heads snapped back, armor shattered, bodies lifeless. Voka gritted his teeth. What the hell was happening? The council watches in horror. Back aboard Veritas Prime, the Galactic Council was no longer entertained. They were terrified. This doesn't make sense, snarled Councillor Drex, his metallic tendrils twitching in agitation. They aren't using energy weapons. There are no plasma bursts. No railgun charges. No smart detonation rounds. What kind of weapon is capable of this level of precision? The Council's technicians and analysts scrambled for answers, but the battlefield data made no sense. Energy shields were useless. Armor was useless. Technology was useless. One of the analysts, an anxious-looking youth scientist, stammered out a response. It appears to be kinetic projectiles, sir, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. High Chancellor Vrotha's mandibles flared in rage. Impossible. We have spent centuries perfecting energy shielding. Ballistics were made obsolete ages ago. No primitive metal slug should be able to. Sir, another analyst interrupted, we ran the impact analysis. These rounds, they aren't normal bullets. They are high-density tungsten-tipped rounds traveling at supersonic velocities. They're moving faster than most railgun slugs, and they're curving. Vroth froze. Curving? The analyst swallowed. We believe the shooter is adjusting for gravity, wind, and atmospheric conditions instantly. These shots are being made from miles away. Silence fell over the chamber. For the first time, the Galactic Council understood. They weren't dealing with primitive soldiers. They were dealing with something far worse. They were dealing with a sniper. Sniper on the ridge. 1.2 miles away from the battlefield. The sniper exhaled slowly. A human. Alone. Hidden beneath a thermal cloak that rendered him nearly invisible to drones and scanners. His rifle, a heavily modified XM 2010 enhanced sniper rifle, was an ancient design, built upon principles that had existed for centuries. Yet, in this moment, against these aliens who had long abandoned projectile weaponry, it was the deadliest thing in the galaxy. The sniper adjusted his sights, tracking his next target. A squad of Council enforcers had huddled behind a large rock formation, scanning desperately for him. They didn't realize the fatal flaw in their position. The rock only provided cover from the front. The sniper had already flanked them. He slowed his breathing. Exhale. Steady. Squeeze. Crack. The bullet punched through the skull of one of the warriors, exiting clean through his helmet. His body collapsed. The others barely had time to react before. Crack. The second fell. The remaining 2 Council soldiers panicked, turning their weapons wildly toward the ridge, toward where they thought the shot had come from. They were wrong. The sniper had already moved. By the time the third alien registered his mistake, it was too late. Crack. One more kill. The last surviving alien dropped his rifle and ran. He was terrified. This wasn't combat. This was slaughter. He didn't make it far. Crack. A bullet ripped through his spine, and he collapsed into the dirt. The sniper calmly ejected his spent casing. One by one, the invaders were dying. And they still had no idea where he was. Find that shooter. Commander Voka was losing control. His warriors were being systematically eliminated, and he had nothing to fight back with. He slammed a fist into his comm unit. Deploy drones, he roared. Find that shooter. Now. A dozen sleek, black Recon drones shot into the sky, scanning for heat signatures, movement, anything. They found nothing. Because the sniper was already on the move. Voka's frustration turned to rage. Fire blind. Blanket the ridgeline. The remaining Council forces obeyed, unleashing a barrage of plasma fire toward the distant hills. The entire ridge erupted in flames, blue-white energy searing through rock and soil. The aliens stopped to watch, expecting to see the charred remains of their attacker. Instead, they saw nothing. The sniper was already gone. Voka's blood ran cold. What kind of soldier was this? The Council's realization. Back in the Council chamber, Vroth clenched his claws against the edge of the table. How is this possible? He whispered. Karesh, who had been so confident, so arrogant, now looked pale. We underestimated them. Drek swallowed hard. Not them. He pointed at the screen, where another Council soldier dropped, his body twitching as a bullet punched through his visor. Him. One man. A single human sniper was destroying an entire invasion force. The room fell into horrified silence. Vrotha's arrogance evaporated, replaced by something primal, something he hadn't felt in centuries. Fear. This battle, he muttered, voice shaking. It's no longer an execution. Drex nodded grimly. No, he said. It's a hunt. The battlefield had changed. What was once an execution had turned into a bloodbath, but not for the humans. For the Galactic Council's elite forces, it had become something else entirely. A nightmare. The butcher's work. Commander Voka knelt beside the body of his lieutenant, the alien's blood still steaming in the cold Vesper 9 air. The sniper had taken another shot. Another kill. Another perfectly placed round straight through the skull. Voka's claws trembled. He didn't even notice until he clenched his fist, his armored gauntlet tightening. He had fought in dozens of wars, but nothing, had ever terrified him like this. This is not warfare, he muttered. This was slaughter. His warriors were trained killers. The best in the galaxy. Their armor could withstand high-yield plasma bolts. Their shields could block artillery strikes. And yet, they were dying. One by one. To a human with an outdated rifle. The art of the kill. 1.5 miles away. The sniper exhaled through his nose. Slow. Calm. Controlled. He had already relocated 3 times since the battle began. Never fire from the same spot twice. That was the rule. His latest nest was nestled inside the ruins of an old industrial complex, surrounded by rusted-out steel structures. The wind whistled through shattered buildings, masking any subtle sounds of movement. Perfect cover. His gloved hands adjusted the bipod of his rifle. His left eye never left the scope. He had studied his enemy. Watched them. They were still making the same mistakes. Grouping together. Taking cover behind objects that wouldn't stop his rounds. Panicking. His next target? A squad leader. The alien stood near the wreckage of a downed transport, barking orders at his soldiers. They had formed a defensive perimeter, expecting a human assault. That was their first mistake. There would be no charge. No rushing in. Only the long, quiet wait. Until their bodies hit the dirt. The sniper adjusted for the wind. He lined up the shot. Exhale. Squeeze. Crack. The squad leader's head snapped backward. A mist of blue blood sprayed over his subordinates as he collapsed instantly. They barely had time to react before. Crack. The next soldier dropped. Crack. Another. Panic rippled through the squad. They scrambled for cover, eyes darting wildly, looking for a threat that wasn't there. The sniper adjusted slightly, picked his next target. Exhale. Crack. Another kill. Then he was gone, already moving. The hunt continued. Pull back. Pull back. Panic spread through the Council's forces like a virus. Their original plan had been simple: storm the human outpost, wipe them out, and claim the planet. Now they were scattering, breaking into smaller groups, desperate to escape the invisible death that stalked them. "We're being hunted," one soldier screamed into his comms. "There's only one shooter," another voice cut in. "One sniper. Find him and—" Crack. The transmission cut out. The Council soldiers looked toward the source of the sound, and saw their comrade lying motionless in the dirt, a hole punched through his helmet. They turned and ran. Their training meant nothing. Their numbers meant nothing. They had lost control. The Council watches in terror. Back aboard Veritas Prime, the Galactic Council had gone from arrogance to horror. "This is madness." Councillor Karish snarled, his blue-tinted exoskeleton twitching as he watched the battle unfold. "How is one human doing this?" "It's not just a human," another councillor muttered. His scales were pale with fear. "It's a sniper." High Chancellor Vroth watched, mandibles grinding together. His warriors, the best the galaxy had to offer, were running like frightened prey. He turned to one of his tacticians. "How many have we lost?" The answer came in a shaky voice. 72 soldiers, Chancellor. All killed with a single shot each." A long, terrible silence filled the chamber. "This?" Vroth whispered, his mandibles clicking. "This is a war we are not prepared for." The last stand. Commander Voka had seen enough. His forces were collapsing. His warriors were being hunted down like animals. And now? Now it was his turn. He would not die cowering like the others. Voka removed his helmet, tossing it to the ground. His black, reptilian eyes narrowed as he stared toward the distant ridgeline. "You," he growled under his breath, speaking to the unseen enemy. "I do not fear you." His claws clenched around the handle of his plasma blade. He activated his personal shield, the energy barrier humming to life around his massive frame. He took a single step forward. And then, crack. His shield flickered. A bullet had just missed his head. A warning shot. Voka's eyes widened. "He's toying with me. Coward." Voka bellowed. "Face me in open combat." No response. Only silence. And then, crack. The bullet punched through his knee. Voka roared in pain, collapsing onto one leg. He glared into the distance, but still, he saw nothing. Then, a voice. Over his helmet's comms. "If you can still move, I'll give you one chance. Run." A chill ran down Voka's spine. The sniper had hacked his comms. He could have killed him. But instead, he was giving him a chance to flee. Voka hesitated. His pride demanded he fight. But his instincts screamed at him to listen. And so, for the first time in his career, he turned and ran. The Council's final order. Back aboard the Council ship, High Chancellor Vroth watched in silence. Commander Voka had fled. His forces were in shambles. The entire operation was a failure. And it was all because of one human. Vroth exhaled slowly, steepling his claws. "Pull them out," he ordered. The counselors turned toward him in shock. "Yes, sir. We've lost," Vroth growled. "Give the order. Full retreat. Now." The last bullet. The sniper watched as the enemy forces fled. It was over. He had won. He exhaled slowly, ejected the last spent casing, and let it fall into the dirt. Then, with practiced precision, he packed up his rifle. His war wasn't over. Because soon, the Galactic Council would send more. And he would be waiting. The Galactic Council had never known true fear, until now. They had believed humans to be primitive, their weapons obsolete, their strategies laughable. But one lone sniper had shattered that illusion. Now, they sought revenge. And this time? They were bringing everything they had. The retaliation fleet. Deep in the void of space, the largest fleet ever assembled for a planetary invasion drifted through the darkness. Hundreds of warships, dreadnoughts, destroyers, troop carriers, all poised to descend upon the battlefield like a storm of fire and steel. High Chancellor Vroth stood at the command deck of the Dominance, the flagship of the fleet. His mandibles clicked in frustration as he gazed at the holographic display of the planet below. "This time," he rumbled, "we do not underestimate them." Around him, the Council's finest strategists and most decorated generals stood in grim silence. "We're deploying the Obsidian Guard first," one of the generals stated. His voice was sharp and controlled, but his eyes betrayed his unease. "They are the most lethal warriors in the galaxy. No human can match them in direct combat." Vroth's mandibles twitched. "No, they cannot. But this is not a war of direct combat." A cold silence followed. They all knew. This was a sniper's war. The hunter becomes the hunted. Planet Vesper 9. Human-controlled territory. The sniper crouched low, scanning the battlefield through his high-powered optics. It had been 2 days since the Council forces had retreated. 2 days of silence. 2 days of waiting. He knew they would return. He just didn't expect this. His eyes widened slightly as he spotted the landing crafts. Not just a few. Hundreds. Descending from the sky like a meteor shower of death. "Shit," he muttered under his breath. This was not another arrogant ground assault. This was extermination. The Obsidian Guard arrives. The first wave of ships touched down, kicking up massive clouds of dust as heavy armored transports rolled out. From them, the Obsidian Guard emerged. They were not like the soldiers the sniper had picked off before. These were elite hunters, bred for war, their armor a nightmare black, their visors glowing with crimson light. Each one carried advanced sensor suites, detecting even the faintest human heat signature. Each one was equipped with anti-ballistic shielding, nullifying conventional sniper fire. Each one was trained in counter-sniper warfare. And all of them had one mission. Find the human. Kill him. The first kill. The sniper exhaled slowly, his finger resting lightly on the trigger. He didn't hesitate. He couldn't afford to. He had one chance before they realized where he was. His scope settled on an Obsidian Guard captain, standing near the front of the formation. Exhale. Squeeze. Crack. The bullet ripped through the captain's visor. The alien's head snapped back, his body crumbling like a puppet with its strings cut. Instantly, the battlefield erupted into chaos. The Obsidian Guard reacted instantly, scattering into defensive positions. No panic. No confusion. Just pure, calculated precision. Within seconds, they had pinpointed the approximate location of the shot. They aimed their antimatter cannons. And fired. The sniper barely had time to move before his entire position exploded in a wave of energy. A deadly game of cat and mouse. Smoke and debris filled the air. The sniper rolled behind a collapsed structure, his instincts kicking in. They were tracking him. Not through traditional means, either. Their visors were scanning for thermal signatures, movement patterns, even air displacement. He was no longer the hunter. He was being hunted. For the first time since the war began, he was at a disadvantage. And he loved it. One shot, one ghost. The sniper knew he couldn't fight them head-on. So he did what he did best. He disappeared. Moving silently, using the environment to mask his presence, he led them into the ruins of the industrial complex. The Obsidian Guard followed, moving methodically, their weapons sweeping every shadow. One of them stepped past a collapsed pipeline. And the sniper struck. A single shot. Crack. The bullet punched through a weak point in the alien's neck armor. The Obsidian Guard dropped instantly. The others whirled, weapons raised. But the sniper was already gone. He was a ghost. The Council's desperation. High Chancellor Vroth watched from his command ship, his mandibles tightening. "This is impossible," one of the generals muttered. "We sent our best hunters. We gave them every advantage. And still," Vroth said coldly, "he kills them." He turned to his tactical officer. "Activate the orbital scanners," he ordered. A sharp silence followed. "Yes, sir." "You heard me," Vroth growled. "If we cannot find him from the ground, we will burn the entire battlefield from orbit." The sky burns. The sniper had just relocated when he heard it. A low, rumbling hum. He looked up. The skies were glowing. Then, hellfire rained down. Hell rained from the sky. Fire and plasma scorched the battlefield, turning ruins into molten slag. Buildings crumbled, steel melted, and the very ground itself split apart as orbital cannons ripped through the surface of Vespa 9. The Galactic Council had lost patience. If they couldn't kill the sniper, they would erase the entire battlefield. The sniper ran, his body moving on instinct alone, weaving between collapsing structures as blasts erupted around him. His world was fire. His mind was ice. Because he had one last shot. And he would make it count. The last stand. Command ship, dominance. High orbit over Vespa 9. High Chancellor Vroth watched the destruction unfold. "Do not stop firing," he commanded, his mandibles tightening. The officers around him nodded grimly. "Sir," a tactical officer hesitated. "If we continue bombardment, we may." "We will continue," Vroth snapped. His glowing eyes narrowed. "He is down there. That human. The one who humiliated us." "He's dead already," a general muttered. Vroth's eyes flashed with anger. "No. He is not. Not until I see his corpse." Silence filled the command bridge. Because everyone knew. The sniper was still alive. Somehow. The art of vanishing. The sniper pressed himself against a burning steel wall, his breath steady despite the storm of destruction around him. The orbital bombardment wasn't random. The Council wasn't just attacking the battlefield. They were using precise fire to hurt him, cutting off his escape routes and forcing him into dead zones. Smart. But not smart enough. Because while they were trying to kill him, he had already set his sights on killing them. The impossible shot. The sniper knew he couldn't win a prolonged fight. His ammo was low. His position was compromised. His only chance? Take out the dominance. Take out Vroth. He needed one shot. And he needed to be perfect. The calculation. Range, over 50 miles. Wind speed, unpredictable. Orbital movement, the ship was not stationary. Gravity shifts, the orbital bombardment was causing atmospheric distortions. Time to impact, 4.2 seconds. A shot like this? Impossible. But the sniper wasn't human anymore. He was death itself. And death does not miss. The bullet leaves the chamber. He inhaled. His heartbeat slowed. His mind focused. He exhaled. His finger squeezed the trigger. Crack. The bullet's journey. The round sliced through smoke, fire, and wind, cutting across the battlefield like a ghostly executioner. It soared past collapsing buildings, over the burning wastelands, through the chaos of war. Then, it left the atmosphere. The bullet pierced the vacuum of space, adjusting for the gravity well of the planet beneath it. It curved, shifting slightly due to the orbital drift of the dominance. The Council never saw it coming. The kill. Command bridge, dominance. Vroth stood, watching the battlefield burn. He allowed himself a small, satisfied smirk. "It is over," he muttered. Then, the bridge exploded. The bullet tore through the reinforced glass, punched through the High Chancellor's skull, and exited out the back of his head. His body jerked, a spray of purple ichor bursting from his shattered face. For a brief second, his mandibles twitched, a final reflex, before he collapsed. Dead. The aftermath. The crew froze in horror. Then, chaos. With their leader gone, the command structure collapsed. The dominance, now leaderless, drifted out of formation. Panic spread through the fleet. Who fired that shot? An officer screamed. They checked the sensors. Checked the scanners. Checked everything. But all they saw was a ghost. The legend begins. Back on the surface, the sniper watched the chaos unfold. His mission? Complete. He vanished into the ruins, leaving nothing behind but corpses and legends. The Galactic Council had mocked human weapons. Now? They would fear them forever.